Brilliant. So for those who maybe aren't aware of you, Emmanuel, why don't we start by you giving me a little bit of an insight into your background?
Just a humble Mexican kid growing up in the United States, pursuing his dream of being a world champion. And it's exactly what I'm doing in this Bellator Featherweight World Grand Prix.
Yeah. And you've been in Bellator since 2014. And I think it's fair to say you've beat a who's who of the featherweight division. Names come to mind like Henry Corrales, Georgie Karkarian, Sam Cecilia, Daniel Strauss, and most notably, the Daniel Weichel win in November, which was a rematch. How satisfying was getting the win over Weichel in the second fight?
Very. It's been a long time since I was thinking about that one. It taught me a very valuable lesson. So nothing, no animosity towards Daniel. It was more so me knowing that I'm better than that and that I could get better results and a better fight than that too. Actually, since from the first time that I fought him, rewatching that, I thought that was the best of me going in there at the time when I fought him. But now, seeing where the progression and evolvement of where I'm at now, it is leaps and bounds since when I first fought him, and it was very satisfying to get that win.
Yeah, and one thing, watching the fight back earlier, I think it's fair to say you really seem to weaponize both your cardio and your volume in the fight. Was that a significant part of the game plan going in?
Yes, I just knew over him and over, I believe honestly, over any featherweight in the world that my pace and my volume is too much for them. If there's one thing I know I can boast about, it's that. Some guys I know are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, but I know that my cardio and my volume, I set a pace that I know no one can keep, and the pressure that I bring forth to opponents as well too, it makes guys fold. So I know everyone speak of pressure until pressure they actually see and feel what it is. Yeah. So that's a very rewarding feeling.
Yeah, it's synonymous with your fighting style. I think looking right back through your catalogue, you've always brought a pace, but in the Weichel fight, it really seemed to be notable. You never gave him a second, I don't think.
Yeah, it was better that was my fifth round fight. Pitbull being my first, but that was my second, and I didn't want to obviously go the distance. I never planned, hey, I'm so excited to go the distance. No, of course you want to finish the fight as soon as you can and save the fight mileage on your body, save your body, and less of a chance of letting your opponent come back into the fight as well too. But I believe I took control the whole time, and knowing that I didn't knowing that I had his number, not necessarily that I was ahead on the scorecards, but knowing that I was out striking him and outlanding him, dropping him, I had to have known that I'm whooping this guy's ass, so I got to be winning this fight. And the only thing going through my mind was then, all right, don't let him back in and just keep shutting him down, keep shutting him out, and just make it a complete shutout to where he can't take me down, he can't hit me, he can't hold me up against the fence. There's nothing that he can do to me that could give him a round or the judge's nod. And I don't know how, when I rehear the scores, the fight, that some judges didn't score 50, 45 across the whole board, but who cares? For me, I know I won. He knows I won. And significantly, when you think two men going into, to battle, I think, he knows that I won. There was nothing that he did at all that, that hurt me. The only thing that hurt me was my feet from kicking him a little bit.
And talking about the fight, and specifically you mentioned going for the finish, you dropped him in the second with, I believe, a left hook to the body. Were you surprised he stayed in the fight? Because he really looked hurt at that point, and you seemed to pull the pressure on.
A little bit. I was hoping the ref would stop it. That's why some punches I was kind of not throwing as hard as I needed to, but just threw a lot more punches, even to his guard. I overheard the ref say, fight back or I'm going to stop it. And he still didn't. So I should have slowed it down more. There's a lot of other things that I wish I could have done too, and I've been planning on doing for a while. But I guess things like that need to happen in order for me to still make the best performances yet, show the best performance, because that still wasn't the best me yet. A lot of people don't know, but I had a lot of, I wouldn't say injuries, but hindrances on the body. So the wear and tear of the body, that was, we were supposed to fight in March. And when my fight got canceled, uh, and I had to continue to just keep training throughout that whole quarantine and lockdown and everything that was going down, wait until we'd get rescheduled to fight again. It was almost like a year's worth training camp because I was consistently training the whole time, not knowing when they would reschedule us or when we would be able to fight again. So I was consistently training every day and pushing my body to the limit to be ready for when the time was going to come that we would lock horns again. And when we did, I still was a little beat up for training for so long. They came to a point where it was about almost a month away from the fight. I was just tired of training. I just want to fight already.
Yeah.
Like I'm training so hard. I'm running so much. I'm lifting and doing all these different things, to get myself prepared to fight. And I just want to fight now. I don't even want to train anymore. I just want to make the weight and fight, And my body was I'm not going to say not 100%, but there was some things holding me back just a little bit. There was some things, not completely, but there were some things holding me back a little bit. But I was still able to fight my fight, do what I wanted to do, and shut him out. Of course, I wanted the stoppage, but I did enough to win and stop. Yeah.
We often talk about burnout in training camps, but I think this year has kind of blown previous ideas of burnout out the water. People talk about a 12 or a 14-week camp as being too long. As you've just said, you've trained for one opponent for the best part of the year.
Getting ready for one guy throughout a whole year was like, I was really tired of thinking about him. Like that's why it was so satisfying also beating him. I was just so sick of thinking about him and, obviously moving on to the next round and wanting to really avenge that loss. Like that was really, really getting to me because that was getting to me, the moment I lost to him in 2016. I remember I knew I wanted that one back right away. And there's a right time for everything though. It was a long time coming, but I guess it was at the right place at the right time. So, I mean, it sucks. Yeah, no fans now. And all these fights only being held at the Mohegan Sun. We don't know what Bellator or, with the United States, what the plans are and where we can have other fights and what else is going to be able to be done. But I'm just so thankful and grateful that I was able to fight, not only, financially, but me as a fighter. That's what you want to do, right? So in every which way, hungry and wanting to fight, to provide for myself and to stay active and to, move on and progress. And tired of thinking of that opponent too. That's the beauty of being in this Grand Prix. I'm knowing who I'm going to fight, and it was just a matter of when. So I'm very glad that that's done and over with. So now everyone keeps asking me about Pitbull. So I was told February, and so that's all. I don't know. I don't know any dates or anything yet. So that's all I can say for now. But we'll see.
Well, as you said, one thing we can say with certainty is who your next opponent will be, and that will be featherweight champion Patricio Pitbull. Semi-final of the World Grand Prix, and as you mentioned, a rematch from 2018. Can I ask, is it beneficial? How beneficial is it to having already spent 25 minutes in the cage with your next opponent?
Very. Likewise with Daniel Weichel. That's why I believe those losses needed to happen in order for me to be able to showcase who I am and what I really can do in this Grand Prix. Those losses needed to happen. That first loss to Daniel Weichel in Kansas, that loss to Patricio Pitbull in Israel, having that experience over those guys, it only gave me the edge over all the other wins that I've had in between. And now that I already got that win out of the way, that one vengeance, fight out of the way, I get to do the same with this one. And I've got to see Patricio fight live 3 times now since we fought. So seeing him fight live right before my eyes and seeing how successful he's been and everything that he's done, it's only motivated me and pushed me to work harder because I know I can beat him. And having that ring time in there with him compared to these other guys that have fought him or recently lost to him, I know, like, wow, obviously that shows where I'm at, because when you look at all of his recent fights, ours was the most competitive and the hardest, like how he said, his toughest fight that he's ever had. So I don't want to be just known as his toughest fight ever. I know I'm going to be as the guy who learned the lesson. He taught me a valuable lesson. Likewise with Daniel Weichel, and it's only put me in a much, in a better state of mind to go out there and to stop him.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking to do. Didn't do it to Daniel, so got to do it to Patricio. And if not, well, then at least a shutout. That's, when I know for sure I can say shut him out completely.
Yeah. And can I ask as well, the first Pitbull fight was, as you mentioned, in Israel. And having looked at your record, that was the only fight in your pro career outside of the US. How much of, if at all, was an issue fighting, on the other side of the world?
Not bad. I handled it a lot better than I thought I would. A lot of people say you should go, if you're going to fight overseas, you should go there like 2 weeks ahead of time and get acclimated to the time and the weather and the food, everything. And I handled it like, it was a flight here in the States to me. So it was long. It was a flight to Poland from Chicago and then a flight from Poland to Israel. So it wasn't that bad. I managed, to everything quite well. The food was amazing. The atmosphere was amazing. The fans were amazing. Fans from all over, Israel, Poland, Germany, Russia, U.S., obviously from other fighters that, that were flown in there too from Bellator, Brazil. But I've gained a lot of Israeli fans too by being able to fight out there, So my first main event, I learned a lot from that. First international fight, first world title fight, first main event. So I learned quite a bit from that. The only thing that I guess outside of the actual fight itself that I could do better was just the weight management. I wanted to be so ahead of schedule because you never know, the flight and the food that you're going to eat out there. I was a little too light. So I could have been heavier, and more than anything, I could have just ate more. So that was my only problem. And sometimes I have that too within other fights in the States too. When you're cutting weight, you just feel like, oh, you shouldn't eat this steak or this rice or this, chicken and broccoli, and you could, but I don't know, a lot of times choose not to because I just want to make the weight and go out there and fight,
Yeah.
Not that it's horrendous or miserable for me, but it's just like, I just want to just let me step on the scale and do my job. That's the only anxiety I suffer is that, like, man, I just want to hurry up fight day. I've been waiting so long for this. So that's why for me, I get excited for all this stuff, is that I just want to step on the scale, tell me for 2 seconds, you take this down, you got the championship weight. All right, let's go fight. But then I get a full 24 hours to rehydrate and recover and wait even longer to go out there and fight again. So just got to enjoy the moment. And now seeing is that, what a great stage that we're on and what an opportunity, because of those times, fans will be able to go and see these fights and, people were able to go out throughout the whole world and everything. Now we got a world pandemic going on and we have to have fights the way we have to have them. But like I said, I'm still very grateful and fortunate that I'm able to fight. And I'm very much looking forward to defeating Patricio Pitbull, winning the semifinal and going on and defeating A.J. Mckee in the final and being a COVID champion. So during a world pandemic, I can still go out and accomplish my dreams and help the world, man. Help the world.
And that would be my next question, actually. So if you beat Pitbull, or as I'm sure you think when you beat Pitbull.
Of course, when. That's the word, not if. When.
Yeah, of course. You will obviously be the champion, but your first defense will be in the final against A.J. Mckee. What are your opinions on Mckee as a potential opponent in the future?
Not a lot of people know this, but I actually I was supposed to fight AJ Mckee when I lost to Daniel Weichel. The first time I lost to Daniel Weichel, I was scheduled to fight AJ Mckee later that year, and I had gotten injured, and that injury still actually kind of hurts to this day. I just have to work my way around it and see a lot of massage therapists and chiropractic work and cryotherapy and CBD and everything to heal all the joints, tendons, and ligaments in the body, right, and the bones. But I I was scheduled to fight him, and I had to pull out, and he really he thought I was being a pussy and didn't want to fight him. But it's just unfortunate, just stuff happens. I've had opponents pull out before. It's just part of the game. It sucks. I know, and on his end, he's had quite a few opponents pull out on him. Props to him that he's still been able to stay undefeated, even with opponent changes within 3 weeks, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, however he's had it. But it obviously wasn't his time then in 2016, and to get his first loss. But now it is. So he thinks he's going to go out and become world champion, and he's not. He will be 17-1 when he faces me. So I can't wait to go out there and to be his first loss. Like I said, I would be for him. I think he's done a lot, done very well for himself throughout his Bellator tenure. He's homemade. He's had all of his fights, professional fights in Bellator. He's fought good big names as well too, but I believe that I have faced a tougher opposition, and not only tougher opposition too, but I think the time frame of the tougher opposition that I fought, the guys that I fought, they're a little more in their prime, and they were hungrier and more on their way. They're closer to the fighting for the title. So I fought a lot more guys that were up there in the title picture than he has. And also more UFC veterans as well too. But he's still shown that he's been able to outskill and outdominate them. But I'm very much looking forward to going out there and proving that I'm better than him.
Yeah. And let's maybe talk for just a second about your gym, Rufus Sport. Now, I know we have a lot of notable names out of there. The Pettis brothers, Paul Felder, and I think notably Duke himself, Duke Rufus, the head coach. How beneficial is the quality of training partner that you get there, and do you feel like it's beneficial for you to train in one of them super camps with so many quality fighters?
Oh, it's amazing, man. It's helped me since the first day I was like officially part of the team. I'm just looking at the mat, and you see these big names and guys that are okay. There's some that are no longer with us, but when they were still in their primes and still consistently fighting, really great German fighter Pascal Kraus, Ben Askren, Anthony Pettis, Sergio Pettis, Eric Koch, Rick Glenn, a lot of guys currently in the UFC or in Bellator or no longer in there, but in other organizations as well too. But definitely guys with more than 10, 15 professional fights. So as a fighter up and coming with myself, when I started with them officially with 5 pro fights, you can only go up. It was all you can do is learn and grow and evolve, and that's exactly what excuse me, sorry. That's exactly what I've done throughout this whole time that I've been there with with Duke. I'm going on 7 years now, so it'll be in my 8th year next year. And I've also been teaching for Rufus Sport for the past 5 years now. So going in already within 3 years, less than 3 years, almost in 2.5 years, being able to be at Rufus Sport within my first 3 fights, that I was already being able to get into Bellator. So knowing that how quickly I was able to get into, the big show and make good money and then work my way on up and get to where I'm at now, it's such a humbling, great experience, and being able to learn under these great training partners and guys that have helped propel me to that level to where I'm at now. Not just obviously the level of, the stage of where I'm fighting, but the skill level. I think that's the most important thing, because a lot of people could get the opportunity, Bellator, UFC, ONE FC, but they don't have the skill to back it up. They just were the ones able to say yes and answer the phone call and be able to take that opportunity when that opportunity arose. But I throughout all in between fights, training camps, other fighters, training camps, or being in their corners as well too, being in Anthony's corner, Sergio's corner, Ben Askren's, being a part of all these countdowns, camps, big fights. It's only gotten me ready for this Grand Prix. This whole Grand Prix is like, man, everything that I've done and trained over these years, it's prepared me to get ready for this, and that's why I feel so strongly and so passionately about this, because I know that those losses, the pulling out from that fight against AJ Mckee, I count that as a loss. And that's out of all the fights I've ever had, I've only had to pull out of one. That's the only fight I've ever had to pull out from. And so that's one I'm very much looking forward to getting back as well too. And revenged one, now time to avenge another in Pitbull, and then avenge the last one. So you can't write a better story than that.
One thing I did want to mention about you, because I feel like it's synonymous with your fighting style, is your conditioning, as we've mentioned. Can I ask, do you feel like this something that comes natural to you?
I believe so. I don't want to say that it's just God-given. I'm very blessed and grateful that I have great lungs and a great heart that can keep going. But I've known that I've had that since I was a kid. There's times, you just want to quit in other sports or things. I'm very grateful that my mother signed me up for every sport to play as a kid. Even if I wasn't good at it, at least do something, keep me out of trouble. Yeah. So she, every season, that you can think of, basketball, football, soccer, wrestling, she's like, be active, go do something. Like, I want you to take up something and see, where and what you can do with this. So I'm grateful for that. But in each and every one of those things, I just knew that I could just, even though I wasn't the best, right, the best footballer, I would just do my best. I just do my best to catch up with all the strikers. I'd run as my job. Run as fast as I could. I would do the best I could with what I could. I just never gave up. And bringing that into MMA, my apologies, big lock dog. Bringing that into MMA, I just knew that if I'm going to fight, right, when I first started getting into MMA, I was like, there's one thing for sure I never want to happen. And this is something that, happens a lot to a lot of fighters. And I'll even hold my phone up right here with my gun, is that the longer the fight goes and guys just, wither away and their hands drop and they're just becoming overwhelmed. And, as the lungs are and the lactic acid is just filling up in the arms and your lungs just feel like they're stabbing you. You just feel like you can't go anymore. I just knew I never wanted to ever feel like that ever. The first time I ever started training or shadow boxing, like how tiring it was. So I'm going to run as hard as I can. I'm going to jump rope as hard as I can. I'm going to bike and swim and row and all the different forms of cardio to help me be in the best tip-top shape. So anytime I, grapple in jiu-jitsu or strike or clinch or box, anything that I do, I always have a high output, high volume, and that's the type of fighter that I am. Got to think like almost Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Just nonstop, always in your face, nonstop pressure, nonstop punch combinations, and I know that. Even though since I'm not a one-punch power knockout type of fighter, I have the volume that will make guys overwhelmed and fold, along with the pressure that I bring. So that's quite a gift that I have. But I still have to sharpen, just like any other tool. Got to keep sharpening that tool, right? And so I'm always making sure my conditioning is the best of the best.
Can I ask, just on that note, what form of cardio do you find most effective for sharpening your conditioning?
Ooh, I have to say, when your output, when you're MMA sparring or striking, because there's no other better way to help build up your cardio. Obviously, sprinting. I see George St. Pierre hitting a lot of different, and there's different intervals and forms of sprints that you could do, whether they're 400 meter, 40 meter, 300 meter, etc. sprints, or in waves and intervals when you jog or regularly run, etc. But jumping rope and when you're actually doing my MMA training, whether it's grappling, striking, or full-on MMA, I feel like when you have a high volume or pace, that's what can get you in the best shape. Because you can run as much as you want, but because I know a lot of guys that are great runners, they could run like 7 miles in less than an hour, or they could, swim very fast or be very fast, in a 100-yard run. But after one round, they gas out. They could have really great cardio for running or biking or swimming, but when it comes to MMA, they don't know how to use their gas. So I feel like when you actually do your grappling, your boxing, your MMA training, that is when you need to know how to use your gas and your cardio. That's when you have to build your cardio doing that. So I feel like that right there. And it's more so a mental thing.
Yeah.
You have to mentally train your body and your mind and your lungs to build that strength.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, the final question, then I'll get you out of here. You mentioned that the Pitbull fight is rumoured or could potentially take place in February. What happens when you and Patricio Pitbull get locked in there for the second time?
I just know that I'll be able to pull the trigger this time. John McCarthy, I remember him and I discussed that. I think it was after that loss going into the next fight. So my second fight with Georgie, I remember he said, "What did you do wrong? What could you have done different?" And that was that. I said, I didn't pull the trigger. So I knew that even though my output, my volume, my pace, dropping him, taking him down, clinching him, kicking him, etc. Now that I know that I have the potential to be able to put it on him, it's going to be enough to finish him this time, or enough to just make him quit. So I'm very much looking forward to actually getting my hand raised this time. A lot of people, even though I lost, still believe I won. And that's humbling. I'm very, grateful and blessed that a lot of people still believe I won. But I didn't get my hand raised. And there's an L on my record because of that. So I'm going to hand him another L and give me another W. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and winning this semifinal and going into the final. So what happens is me coming out victorious. So doing whatever I need to do to be victorious, I will do. But it's going to be because I pulled the trigger, and I know when you believe in your greatness and you hold nothing back, not even the sky is the limit. Anything is possible.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming fight against Pitbull. How can people find you on social media, Emmanuel?
Check me out on Instagram at Matador Sanchez. I'm still working on the Twitter. I had all my social medias hacked. Sorry, so I don't even have a Twitter just yet. But on my Facebook page, Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez, you can find me on that as well too. And the Snapchat as well too, Matador Sanchez. And if you're on Xbox or PS4, Matador Sanchez one. Yeah, so play me on some FIFA, or what else do I got on there? I think that's about it right now that I play. The Cold War. So I play Xbox and Cold War. So I play that on Xbox. But if not, I play a lot of FIFA. So that's what I love about, soccer and MMA, 2 and 2 together. It's a very worldwide international sport, So that's what I love about this.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time. It was an absolute honor to have you on.
Thank you very much.